Hi everyone, this is Ben with AWKWA, and welcome to another installment, episode 413 of the Wing-2-Wind Windfoiling Diary. For those of you who have tuned in before, you will know that this video diary series is meant to chronicle my journey from recreational wingfoiler and occasional windsurfer to windsurfoiler, also known as windfoiling. Besides recording my progress and abundant setbacks, there really is not a lot of great beginner content on YouTube or, frankly, the internet on beginning windfoiling. And the hope is that this vlog can serve as a bridge to an eventual how-to or 101 series that I'd like to do on getting started in this fantastic wind sport. As always, my specific kit or setup is identified in the video description below, but as we always do, I like to start out with some additional gear considerations and adjustments that were made on this particular day. Namely, or mainly, is this is the second time out with the Fanatic Flow 1500. And this time I set the foil in the middle of the tracks, whereas I think last time I set it because of the strength of the wind conditions that day. I think I set it about a centimeter back of middle. Also, the mast base, as with the last time, I set the mast base to the middle, which I believe says like 135. And lastly, given my considerable challenges, let's say, uphauling in the last session. I think mainly because my boom was set maybe a little too high. I went ahead and opted for my my favorite long uphaul for the higher set boom that I had planned on. So now let's go ahead and recap the session that was on this day, and wow, what a difference between this particular session and the last one when I essentially basically got blown off the water. As you will see in this video, you haven't really asked for it, but you've been patient and waited long enough, those of you who've tuned into this video diary. We've got actual footage this time, so I'm very excited. But anyways, yeah, it was a tough first set early on. I had a very difficult time releasing off the water. I could get planing. There was enough wind for me to do that, but I just could not get the thing to come up clean, and the various attempts in doing so usually ended up in crashes. And I'm thinking, looking back on it, that I was perhaps leaning too much against the sail, kind of adopting more of a windsurf type posture, and that might have adversely impacted my ability to apply pressure to down on the mast, the foil mast, that is. The other thing I could say almost certainly was a cause of those early struggles was I set based upon the boom being in my opinion a little bit too high last time out. I decided to take a bit off and set it at 1.15, and it 1.15, even though I thought it would be a nice compromise, it actually may have been a little bit too low. And so because of that, I think I wasn't able to exert as much leverage as I would have liked, particularly maybe given the wind conditions as they were during that first set. So later on in the first set, I decided that for whatever reason I was struggling, and I decided to make a little bit of an adjustment on the fly. And instead of, like I said, sort of trying to take that kind of windsurf style of hanging off the boom and leaning back and down, instead I kind of corrected myself a little bit to be more of a squat, I guess, more of a crouch almost, um, until I was definitely at speed and planing, and as that was occurring, I would attempt to stand a little bit more straight and upright, and I feel that enabled me to have a lot more leverage to push down and stomp down on the foil mast with my back heel or my back foot. I don't know whether it was because of it or in spite of it. I was able ultimately to break off some quick flights, some short flights in the western end of the bay, including one flight which was actually at that point in time was probably my longest one that I've had. Unfortunately, my cameras were not on for those particular flights, um, and in any event, I was kind of pretty bushed already just from hanging on to the boom and holding down the power. So I'm on shore having a break, getting hydrated, and I see a newcomer to our group, a guy named Brian, who's also starting out, or supposedly has started out in windsurf foiling, and I see him flying all over the bay. He's flying longer, and he's bouncing off the water on touchdowns and regaining flight again. And so for me, that was that. I knew I had to go out and at least kind of somewhat try to not be the worst guy out on the water. And so adjusted the boom to 1.20 like I mentioned, and sure enough, instantly, as soon as the first set of gusts came in, I was instantly powered up, and boom, just immediately broke off a couple quick flights. So again, it's amazing how much easier having the higher boom makes getting going, pop up on foil. With that said, it is extremely tiring, at least for me, who's not in great shape. But hey, I will take it between just being fatigued and not getting any flight time, or having your arms completely shot and having caught the longest flights of your windfoiling career up to that point in time. I will definitely take the latter. And so I think most of the footage that I'm showing here comes from this second set when I did turn the cameras on finally. And the big takeaway from the second set is that for the first time, I actually felt uh, uh, that I was able to go upwind, and without not and intentionally. Um, these upwind movements or bends upwind, they were not pretty or for very long, but I definitely sensed a certain cause and effect between what I was doing, and that was consciously trying to pivot or steer the board upwind once I was up. To add another key point, I also did this without again being in the foot strap, so that was encouraging that I can manipulate sort of the board to go upwind if I have to, without having to be in that front foot strap and certainly not the back foot strap. Another important outcome that came out of, I feel, this second set and also the rest of the day is I like to describe as things slowing down, because as we all know, when you start to do anything for the first time, everything is going like a billion miles an hour, and so as you start to do it over and over again and get the reps, things do start to slow down. And I felt certainly that things were starting to slow down for me, at least a little bit more in flight, and that I was starting to get a better feel for how to adjust, and what to do when things started to go awry or started to go sideways. And as a result, my crashes were definitely reduced, if not ended completely. I don't know if I actually even crashed on that second set, which is really saying something. And so after having a adult beverage and some little bit of protein and some things to snack on. And I decided to go ahead and get out there for a third set. And some of the takeaways from the third set, I think, like again, like I said, things are starting to slow down, and my ability to sense something going awry or get something getting squirrely and anticipate that and adjust to it or counteract it, those skills are starting to kind of are starting to develop. And more importantly, I think I'm getting comfortable enough now. Again, I keep drawing parallels to winging that as soon as I do touch down, if I felt like and saw that the wind and heard that the wind or the gust was still in play, I would immediately go after it again to get back up again. And so it's definitely in that third set. I don't know if it's a liquid courage or what, but certainly a lot more aggressive about spotting the gust and getting going, getting planing, and just stomping that tail or kicking down the foil mast to get it to release. And so the upshot of all that is that I kind of feel that windsurf foiling Ben is sort of kind of merging a little bit more with winging Ben, which is a good thing. They're at least within sight of each other. I feel after this session, and so as a result, flight wise in that third set, I had a lot more what I'll call touch and goes, where I was able to plane up, get the board released, fly, and then touch down again. So again, like I said, things are starting to slow down in flight, and it's getting to the point where it's not a big freak out if I am up and foiling. It's just a question now of lengthening those flights and starting to kind of working on my trim, making sure that the foil is at the most efficient speed that I can get it, and then also starting to work on going upwind and going upwind harder. Another takeaway and an action item I came into this session with was doing a much better job at trimming out once the board was on foil. As soon as I was released, you want to kind of get pressure forward or pressure on the nose to kind of level out, so you're not continuing to rise. As a result, I didn't overlift once on this session. I will say, if anything, I probably took my own goal or advice too much to heart and probably had a little bit too much front trim all day, because I don't feel like I ever really got the mast even up to kind of the middle of its 90 centimeter range, and I probably would have liked to have a little bit more height. The other takeaway, this one's an oldie but a goodie, is that you have to have the boom high for sure. It looks and feels kind of weird, particularly as you can see in these images. The boom is way high for me, but darned it if it just does not work and work well for me. So next I want to talk about foot position. And so one of the takeaways I've come from the last, I guess, 2 sessions is that when I'm just kind of taxing around, or my neutral or my stable position seems to be best where my rear foot is on the black stripe or the black strip on the 2020 Fanatic Stingray board. I leave my foot, my rear foot anyways, right there, and then my front foot could be anywhere from just right behind the mast base to approaching the front of the front foot strap. And the last takeaway I'd like to talk about is along these lines is I definitely felt a lot of back foot pressure during this session, or I felt anyways that I had to really get my foot far back, or it was never far back enough. The upshot of that is if we get conditions similar to what I had on this day, I would definitely try to have the foil at least 1 centimeter forward of middle, and just to kind of see what that does. I may do that just anyways, just because I'm at the point right now where, particularly with a winging background, I'd rather kind of overfoil than um, underfoil like I was today. Okay, finally, I'm going to talk about outstanding issues and concerns I'm still having, as well as action or to-do items for the next session. With respect to the boom and the sail rig itself, I still do not know really what to do with it when I'm up on foil. But I will say another big thing to come out of this session is that it really wasn't that big of a deal. I haven't really gotten many good answers from the guys, the people in our group, as to what to do. And again, it may be one of those things where it's just so elementary or obvious to them that they just don't know how to express it. I will also say that I, at times, even caught myself trying to um, take advantage, I guess, of the deadness of the sail rig, if that's even a word. And again, this is kind of is this sort of coming with experience and a little bit more confidence, even kind of just manipulating or trying to, anyways, manipulating the sail rig here or there just to kind of see if I could get it to get the board to turn upwind or downwind. So beginning to play around with that a little bit, and as I get further ahead on that, regardless of whether it works or not, I will certainly update you in the coming episodes. Next item, I still am not in the foot straps, um, and I know I need to at least try it. This session would have been a great time to try it, but I think I was having so much fun doing what I was doing that I just never bothered to do it. So I still want to do it, but I don't know if I need to do it. One thing I will, another point I will add on the foot straps is that um, I seem to be, I'm having enough success doing this that I'm actually considering moving the front foot straps, not taking them off, but actually moving them to full outboard. And the reason is that if I move them all the way to the full outboard position, that gives me a lot more real estate for my front foot to work with. And I feel having that, I can actually um, more easily and smoothly move my front foot not only back, but also a little bit more to the rail, which I think will help respectively with getting the board to lift sooner, as well as once I'm a little more efficient in flight, be able to get pressure on the rail, pressure on the foil mast to be able to turn upwind a little bit easier, much like I do with wing foiling. Okay, so the common complaint that is the common thread of all of these vlog or video diary installments is that my flights are still entirely too short, and I find myself falling out of the sky way sooner than I'd like. And my theory is that just like when I was learning to wing foil and starting to get on foil longer and longer, what I'm doing is basically I'm just turning upwind entirely too soon. Okay, I'm so concerned about getting sent downwind and having to schlep my way back to the start line that, like, as soon as I feel like I'm on foil, and even sometimes even before I'm on foil, I must be consciously or subconsciously just putting way too much pressure on the upwind rail and maybe even unconsciously manipulating the sail to go upwind. And as you can see in some of these clips, I mean, my nose is clearly pivoting to point upwind, and that has to be something that I'm doing, and because it obviously wouldn't be occurring naturally. So, anyways, the point of all that and the action item I've decided for the next go around is a couple things. First and foremost, as soon as I get released and I'm on foil, um, I trim out, but maybe I don't trim out so fast, okay? Or if I am leveled out, maybe I begin to pump a little bit to get that mast, or rather to get that altitude a little bit higher before I adjust the attitude to level off. Okay. Um, and in the process of doing that, and in the time I think it takes to do that, that will also serve the purpose of allowing the foil to reach um, maximum speed, or at least peak efficiency of that foil. And I feel once those two things are accomplished, um, by then I can, at that point in time, more consciously begin to work on turning upwind. And so basically, kind of like what I had to learn with winging, is that you just kind of, once you're up, you just sort of have to let it run. You have to kind of let the foil do its thing. And I still catch myself doing this with winging, where it's like, I know you want to turn upwind, but don't. Just, you can kind of feel it with experience. You sort of just know, like, is the foil, really moving efficiently or not? I just basically need, as one of my friends in the group has also mentioned, I just need to learn to just go in a straight line. And that simplistic advice does have merit, because I think I've been trying to do too much too soon, and basically killing what could be some pretty decent flights. And the final thing I'll say is that I still am looking down at the board or at the water too much. I'm still trying to admire my liftoff, just exactly like I used to do with winging. Um, and I need to stop doing that. Now, with that said, I'm getting better at it. You can see in some of these clips, I'm actually looking at the horizon. Okay, but I think it's basically like, again, like what happened to me with winging. I had a major breakthrough when I just stopped looking down at the board the entire time. And if you just operate on feel, um, and by that I mean the feel of the board, um, through your feet, the sound of your board planing on the water, and eventually releasing. If you kind of just focus on that and not worry about, am I up yet or not, it allows you to free up your mind and your vision to look at the horizon, be fixated on your goal or your target, and ultimately that makes it just that much easier to attain your goal as well, which is basically to, for me right now anyways, is to be able to go upwind and on foil. So, and that, ladies and gentlemen, covers this latest installment of the Wing-2-Wind Windfoiling Diary. As always, I want to thank those of you not only for tuning in and watching this video. I know it was a little lengthy, but hey, at least I had more footage to show you on an endless loop than in the previous two. So hopefully that will continue to be the case, and I'll get some much neater and interesting angles for you to look at. Finally, if you like this content and found it useful, boy, we sure would appreciate it if you would mind not only liking this video by clicking below, but also subscribing to the official AWKWA YouTube channel so you can get notified instantly of the latest new videos and other content to be uploaded. In the meanwhile, until next time, this is Ben with AWKWA, wishing you good winds and happy sailing.